He came to power with promises of restoring security and improving the lives of Egyptians. But a year since Abdel Fattah el-Sisi assumed office, has he delivered on those promises? Is Egypt any better under his rule? This is Inside Story. Well, welcome to the programme. I'm David Foster. It has been a year since general-turned-politician Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took office in Egypt, becoming president after winning 96.9% of the vote. He is a far cry, though, from the kind of leader many of Egypt's revolutionaries imagined would eventually replace Hosni Mubarak. Under his rule, laws are issued by decree. Political protests have been banned and dissenting voices have been silenced. Despite that, Sisi maintains the support of many Egyptians. Sisi promised to bring stability back to Egypt. He has had some success, making improvements to the economy and encouraging foreign investment. Another promise, and restoring Egypt's relations with countries such as the US, relations which were damaged by the military coup and the crackdown that followed. Increasing security has proven more difficult, with police and security forces the target of frequent attacks from Islamic fighters in the Sinai. Let us now get the thoughts of our guests joining us, all indeed from London. David Hearst, editor of Middle East Eye, itself just about a year old. EyeMaha Azzam, head of the Egyptian Revolutionary Council, and Omar Ismail, chair of the Labour for Arabs organisation, also a Middle East political analyst. Welcome to all of you. David Hearst, let me kick off with you. If Sisi has one particular quality, if he has one particular qualification, love him or loathe him, what would you say that is?
He's a good actor. He says one thing and does quite another. I mean, he did tell his officers, and this is a matter of public record, that there wasn't a security solution for Sinai, and that is exactly what has happened. And a horrible insurgency has started since then. Sinai has become the Sudan that he was warning about to the officers. I think he came to power a year ago with a huge amount of support, with a lot of money, somewhere between $40 and $50 billion from the two Gulf states, Saudi Arabia and the Emiratis, not to mention, of course, Kuwait. And the question to ask is what he's actually done with that. Has he kept unity even within his own elite? And interestingly, what's been going on in the last few days is, and it's not me saying this, David Hearst, and it's not my sources telling me this, but it's a matter of public record, that they have been attacking each other in Ashuruq newspaper. They have accused Ahmed Shafiq, who was a presidential candidate and very much a Mubarak-era politician, of trying to mount a coup. All of this in public. So I think stability, the stability of Egypt, even if you just take the stability of the regime, has now got to be in question.
We'll talk about the wider implications of that and who may be backing those who might be opposing Sisi a little bit later, David. Thanks for now. EyeMaha Azzam, head of the Egyptian Revolutionary Council. Let's try and establish, first of all, I'm assuming that this is not the kind of revolution that you revolutionaries wanted to see.
I think it's neither what the revolutionaries wanted to see or any normal Egyptian citizen wanted to see, in terms of a degree of political accountability, political participation, or even stability or economic development. So this is about falling not only short of the aims of the January 25th revolution and the Arab Spring, which of course everything that is happening in Egypt today is contrary to it, but also in terms of ordinary Egyptian citizens who may have not even participated in that revolution.
But how is he different?
What we see in Egypt today.
How is he different, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, from the man who ruled Egypt for so long, Hosni Mubarak? Both of them military men. Are they out of the same mould?
It is very much a continuation of the military regime and the military political system that Egypt has experienced over many decades. Some would argue since 1952. But in many ways, it's also far worse than the Mubarak period in the eyes of some and in the experience of many in terms of human rights violations. So again, if I go back to my point, he has not only fallen short, he has actually quashed any aspirations that Egyptian citizens would have had for Egypt in 2015 in terms of better economic growth, in terms of security, in terms of stability. We are seeing the worst violations of human rights in the modern history of Egypt, according to Human Rights Watch and other human rights organizations.
So what do you make of this from
security threat?
Somebody you undoubtedly know, the rights lawyer Neged Borai, questioned in the last couple of weeks because he and other people in his circle drew up a proposed law against torture, sent it to Sisi's office for them to take a look at it, and he came out saying, not only have I been questioned, but judges who were involved in this are likely to be disciplined. Our predicament is deep, he said. In Egypt, the only crime that goes unpunished now is torture.
Exactly. That is so emblematic of a whole system that quashes any opposition, whether it comes from the Islamist camp, the liberal or the secularist. What we're seeing under the Sisi regime today is a complete lack of tolerance. We're seeing a regime that has maintained power through sheer force and the security forces, and a judiciary that has been an arm of the military regime. But we're seeing cracks, as has just been mentioned. The system can only survive, and Sisi can only survive, through an iron fist policy. But that in itself is engendering a lot of disgruntlement even among his supporters. And I think a growing mass of people are turning against him in terms of the Egyptian public itself.
Omar Ismail, Egyptian Labour Party, supporting organised labour and change, looking after the workers, I suppose, in some ways. You said to us earlier on today, before we came on air, I'm not pro-Sisi, but at the same time, I'm not against him. He has done some good. He could do some good. What, in your opinion, is that? Could it be?
Yeah, I think we really have to take a stock of what's really happened over the past year. The continuous attack by terrorists and terrorism in Sana'a and elsewhere in Egypt. It is not the making of Sisi. It is the making of those who have been thrown out by the Egyptian people in the 30th of June and the 3rd of July. So for those who actually claim that they do speak on behalf of the Egyptian people, they ignore one fact, and that is when they were in power, when the Brotherhood were in power, they set out to change the nature of the Egyptian people. Something that established over 7,000 years. They set out to destroy the institutes within Egypt, including Al-Azhar mosque, because it represented to them a huge stumbling block in implementing their politics or policies. The Muslim Brotherhood, and I'm one of those, I was extremely disappointed. I'm one of those that have voted for Morsi because the choice at that time was either this or that, and I really jumped for the best, for maybe a better choice, hoping that they have learned a lesson through their history. Through their history, that people can be led to something that they need and want, not something that they think that people want. They came into a ticket to improve the lot of the Egyptians in general. And as I said, and I just don't want to repeat myself.
Let me just ask you this one. Do you think those people that you talk to, those you say you represent in the Labour movement, do you think any of them feel better off because of the last 12 months?
Sorry, I'm in the Labour Party, the British Labour Party, not the Egyptian Labour Party.
OK, well, I'm sorry, it says here the Egyptian, the Arab Labour Party.
No, I reside in London, I live in London, I have huge contact with the Middle East in general and Egypt particularly. So the issue here, from my own standpoint, that what did the Muslim Brotherhood, when they were handed the opportunity, a golden opportunity to rule by democracy, rule by consent, they set out to change the nature of the Egyptian and change their makeup. The 7,000
okay,
years
no, seriously,
of history
I do want to concentrate on the matters at hand, not so much the history, but
sure.
Whether you think, and we'll move on after this, whether you think, yes or no, many Egyptian people feel better or worse off. Sorry, better off. Yes?
Better off, it is marginally. I think the issue of security is still looming high in terms of investment and so on and so forth. I think the country will have to go through some sort of instability for the time being until the matter of terrorism is dealt with.
David
it's an
Hearst.
exceptional time for the Egyptian.
Yeah. David Hearst, you heard of the deep state, which is supposed to be the establishment buried within Egypt that for decades has benefited financially and in terms of power, the judiciary, the military, etc. Suggestions that this deep state is now turning against Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Is that because it doesn't see the benefits that it previously got, or is it being worked on from outside Egypt?
Well, both, actually. But before I answer that question, it really isn't a question of the Muslim Brotherhood trying to change the nature of Egypt. They were elected by 5 democratic elections. There were lots of people outside the Muslim Brotherhood who supported them, not least people like Ayman Noor, who, as a parliamentarian, tried, and I'm now going to get down to your question, of getting some accountability just for the army's budget when he was in Parliament. The army are very, very much like, as in the ex-Soviet Union, and probably under Putin's Russia now as well, a law unto themselves. They're not just a law unto themselves; they are a budget unto themselves. And now, of course, this is one of Sisi's problems, because Sisi cannot get rid of his defence minister, who happens to have different views about what is happening to Egypt than Sisi has. But he can't get rid of the Egyptian defence minister because of a provision in the constitution which says that you can't touch the defence minister. That was originally written for Sisi himself when he was the defence minister under Morsi. So Sisi has been caught in a web of his own making.
And
now,
are there others outside Egypt who are trying to encourage this? Talking about the relationship that has changed fundamentally between Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and the Emirates and Egypt.
Sure.
Are they backing different horses now?
Just but just to come back to the first point before I answer that one, we've got to remember that a bug was placed on the mobile phone of Abbas Kamal, who was Sisi's office manager at the time. Who placed the bug? It was an inside job. It wasn't someone else. And they recorded all these conversations, and these conversations have now been twice validated by a British forensic team. There is something going on inside the elite. I mean, why would you actually bug the innermost conversations of what's going on in the equivalent of 10 Downing Street?
Well, who outside? I'm sorry to bring you back to this, but it is only a half-hour programme. Who outside Egypt? You've mentioned those who are inside the establishment, but who outside Egypt would want to see somebody other than Sisi now running the country?
Okay, well, the major change has been the death of King Abdullah in Saudi Arabia and his replacement by King Salman. Now, this was for completely different reasons. There was a power battle between one clan of the Saudi royal family and another, and one clan, the Sudaris, won. But an awful lot of the key advisors of Abdullah have left. And what you've got now is a new group of people with new friendships and new alliances, particularly with Turkey and with Qatar. And that has meant a change in the relationship with Sisi. Now, I'm not going to say that suddenly the Saudis, of all people, have seen the light and are now preaching democracy and a reversal of a military coup. Far be it for me to say that. But they are pragmatists. They're looking at Sisi with a new cold eye. They're saying, is he value for money? And they're looking at other options. Now, the other options they're looking at is they are talking directly to members of the Egyptian opposition, both secular and Islamist. That's a big change. But they're also looking at other army officers to say who is the best guarantor of stability. Not only that, the United Arab Emirates are doing the same thing. And I think they're behind the recent, very public and very bitter dispute that Sisi has had with Ahmed Shafiq. I think the Emiratis are closer to the Mubarak clan of Jamal Mubarak and generals associated with it. So
David,
what you're seeing is a fracturing of the elite.
Yeah, I do have to move on and bring in Maha once again. A lot of suggestions that Sisi has softened Egypt's stance towards Israel, that it's cracking down on Hamas in Gaza. Do you see a major change that could affect Egypt's relationship with those pretty close but outside its own borders?
Egypt, from the very start under General Sisi, has had very close relations with Israel. And when it comes to its position over Gaza, it has pursued a policy that works hand in hand with that of Israel. We have seen the displacement of the people of Rafah. We have seen the demolition of homes in Sinai and the displacement of thousands of families. I think Israel and Egypt, under the present regime, are pursuing one policy, and it is based on a misguided understanding, I think, of security, and it's one that will affect the region as a whole. And in a sense, that relates back to the issue of security inside Egypt as well. The idea that we have to tarnish all opposition as representing a security threat is a serious misunderstanding of the situation. Because as one of your speakers said, the member of the British Labour Party said that the problem with security emanates also from those that were part of the of the elected government and of the Brotherhood and so on. That again is tarnishing all Democrats and all those who oppose Sisi as if they have to be fought as terrorists. And that is precisely what breeds terrorism and radicalization, because it closes the middle ground, it closes the door to all Democrats.
And of course,
so Sisi represents,
there have been so many more death sentences in Egypt. Whether the judiciary is operating independently or as one arm of the government, it's hard to say. Let me go to Omar once again, Omar Ismail. I'm going to read something to you that was written 9 years ago by Sisi himself when he was at a US military college. Democracy has benefits as well. It reduces unhappiness with government and narrows the vast gap between ruler and ruled. In all, democracy can accomplish much for the region and those who promote it. Do you think that's still in his mind, or is that something that he's pushed away forever?
I think that's a question that would be better directed to Mr. Sisi himself.
We did ask him, he wouldn't come on the programme.
But he wouldn't come on the phone. So I would actually just share this view with you, and that's my view. And that is, you cannot sort of impose democracy from the top down. It has to be from the bottom up. It has to be the desire of the Egyptian as a whole, not the form of democracy that one group or another that does support or try to impose on the rest of the country.
But do Egyptians as a whole, do they want democracy, and do they want it now?
Well, they want a democracy. They do not want a democracy that is styled in a European mantra and European opinion and European ideas. It has to come from within the culture of the Egyptian people, their history, their religion, their faith, and their belief. And it has to be representative, as I said, from the bottom up. The idea of those... Egypt was not a country that in the past was... democracy was foreign to it. Democracy was one of those countries... Egypt was one of those countries that became became the first democratic country under the previous king in the 20s. So really,
I'm going to have to move this on a little bit. Let me come back to Omar. Thank you. We're just running a little bit short of time. Maha Azzam, and then I'll come to you, David Hearst, after that. If there is a need and a desire for democracy in in Egypt, and it isn't represented by Sisi, where does that will go now?
I mean, clearly Egyptians do not want the system that exists today.
Well, why clearly?
I don't understand why the previous. Do you think Egyptians or any society or any number of citizens want to be repressed and their rights violated? Do you think any citizen in any part of the world wants to feel the lack of security if they come out onto the streets and open their mouths or protest peacefully? They may be liable to be thrown in prison and there is no due process, and thereafter tortured through a systematic system that tortures and rapes? Do you think any citizen wants to live in a country where it doesn't have the rule of law or a judiciary that's going to give them a fair trial? I think it is absurd to assume that the Egyptian people don't want to hold their leaders accountable. They went out in 5 elections in order to choose their leader, and in order to upset that system, and because there was a lack of acceptance by the military, it used tanks and bullets in order to overthrow that system.
David Hearst,
I think it is obscene to assume that the Egyptian people do not want freedom and social justice.
David Hearst, let me come to you.
A universal right.
Where does Egypt go now? Because clearly their passions are still running extremely high. Sisi has opened up the country to more investment from overseas. Is that enough for him to be able to convince people that repression of human rights is okay for the time being, at least, or where do you think it could go?
No, it's not. Look, I think one has got to move to a situation which unwinds some of the things that Maha was talking about. And I'm astonished that a member of the British Labour Party is saying the things that he has said about a modern version of Pinochet. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. But be that as it may, what we have to do now...
You're taking my words out of context.
I am not taking you out of context, my friend.
You are taking me out of context. Democracy, I'm sure that you agree with me, the democracy have to come from the bottom up, not from the top down. And I think you better listen to what I'm saying rather than
justifying a military coup. That does not mean justifying a military coup.
I didn't say that. I've never. I have come to this program.
I'm sorry. We'll let the viewers.
Making my position clear. I am not supporter of Sisi. Neither I am supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood.
We'll let the viewers make up their mind on that. We will see what they have to say. We invite them to. But David, just wrap up for us, if you would.
Okay. Well, I think what has to happen now is that the arrested people have got to be freed. The people on death row have got to be taken off death row. You've got to have whoever leads the country. You've got to have stability, and you have to start having real, proper, free elections again. Whether Morsi comes back or not is neither, I think, here nor there. I think what has to happen is these tensions have to be diffused before Egypt really does erupt. And if Egypt does erupt in the way that Syria does, remember it is a country of 90 million people. And if you want to see some of them taking to the boats, that is what's going to happen if Sisi carries on in this way. The situation has got to be diffused for the sake of all Egyptians, Islamist, secular, whatever.
Well, I have to say that from where I sit, David Hearst, thank you very much indeed. I did not see the sentiments that you ascribed to Omar Ismail coming out that strongly. We did give you a chance, Omar, to come back against him, but not enough time, I'm sure, from your point of view. But it is the nature of just a half-hour programme. None of us has the chance to say as much as we...
Not a problem. I'll reserve my right for next time.
There will be a next time, I'm absolutely certain of that. Listen, thank you all very much indeed. David Hearst, Maha Azzam and Omar Ismail. We thank you too. our Inside Story viewers for watching. As always, we would like to hear your thoughts. Our programme page, aljazeera.com, send them in there. And you can post your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. Tweet us too if you like, AJ Inside Story. From me, David Foster, and the rest of the team on this programme, it's goodbye for now. See you next time.